Welcome to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a
What's
light
your
on
story?
incredible. What does accessibility mean to you?
What's your mission? Welcome all to accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible individuals and organizations and the work that they do. I'm your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders, and a power wheelchair user. I'm a community relations manager at accessiBe and a passionate disability rights advocate and trial attorney, focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today on accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, we're joined by Natalie Boehm, the president of Defeating Epilepsy Foundation. Welcome, Natalie.
Hi, thank you for having me as a guest today.
I'm very excited to have you on, so let's jump right into it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I've had epilepsy since the age of 2 due to a traumatic brain injury, and having, neurological disorder as a child. Many people really didn't understand what epilepsy was. Why did it exist? Why was I the way I was? And it really limited me from having a lot of the opportunities that my friends did as a child. And I didn't notice it really when I was younger. But as I got older, I started entering the workforce, going to school, I really saw the complications that it was to have a neurological disorder and the stigma that was placed with it. So I made up my mission in life that I was not going to allow epilepsy to put a label on me, and I was going to live my life to the fullest. And that's what I've tried to do through going for higher education. I have an MBA with a focus on a strategic capstone. I work out of my home. I have a family. A lot of the things that most people think people with epilepsy don't have the capability of having or achieving, I've made it my goal to enjoy those things in life.
I love that, Natalie. And life goes on, and you make it happen. You figure it out, and it's just there's so much that's possible if you focus on what you can do.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm a big believer. After I became paralyzed below my shoulders when I was 18, a wave picked me up and dropped me on my head and shattered my neck, and that changed my life. But as life went on for me, I quickly learned that the only person that could truly stop me is me. And focusing on what I could do and moving forward, and like you did with your education, it's just there's beautiful things that can happen when you put your focus on.
Oh, I do agree. And I mean, I find that, as you said, you found where your strengths and weaknesses were. You knew how to set goals for yourself. I feel if you focus on that and have a positive attitude and make up your mind, I can do this. It may not happen overnight, but I know I have the capability. Other people's toxicity around you, it won't get in the way. If you focus on you and focus on positivity, you're not going to breeze right through it, but at the same time, you'll have the strength to look and go, you know what? One, they don't know me. Two, it's their loss. If they don't see the potential in me, I'll move on, and other people will.
I love that. It's so true. And I've always been a big believer of an attitude of gratitude and just very grateful for all that I have. And try not to focus on all that, maybe I don't have, which there's truths behind that. Physically, I'm limited in what I can do, but mentally and kind of with passion and purpose, there's sky's the limit.
Absolutely.
So I would love to also learn more from you about the Defeating Epilepsy Foundation. Tell me more about it.
Well, the Defeating Epilepsy Foundation is a 501c3 not-for-profit that I founded, and our mission is to provide the advocacy and educational resources needed to the epilepsy community and our society. And the reason for creating the Defeating Epilepsy Foundation is I found the larger organizations that worked at a national level, such as the Epilepsy Foundation, Cure Epilepsy, and other nonprofits, were very focused on lobbying, research, biomedical, pharmaceutical, which, we do need those things. I'm not doubting it. They're working with NIH and CDC to bring better forms of care for people with epilepsy, better medications, better opportunities. We need that. But what these larger organizations, and not just epilepsy, but many conditions, they're failing to realize what it's like to live with this condition. They're not communicating with the communities. They don't understand what we deal with. And I've even found there's some people who work within these organizations who have said to me, well, I don't know what you're dealing with because I really don't understand it. Well, how can you advocate for something and fundraise for something and promote, services when you don't even understand what you're advocating for? And I saw what a void my community we have been forgotten. And it's impacted us not just when it comes to having seizures, but very particularly mental health, educational opportunities, employment opportunities. So many people, including myself, hide their epilepsy, or I did for many years, in fear of losing their jobs, losing their medical benefits. After I opened the foundation and started doing further research on the condition and mental wellness, I found there was an article published 2016 in Epilepsy Behavior. And from 2003 to 2010, they gathered data on people who were committing suicide who had epilepsy. And they found out that people with epilepsy are 22 times more likely to commit suicide than the general population. And the highest age range was ages 40 to 49 by overdose. And it just shows that people who develop adult onset epilepsy, or they may no longer have a caregiver who can help them because the resources are not there and the stigma that has been placed on them, it puts them into such a horrible situation where they're looking at, do I become homeless or do I end things? And I feel in the society that we claim to have, we're supposed to have this great society here in America that's supposed to set such an example for the rest of the world. We shouldn't have people who are battling medical conditions going, am I going to survive on the streets or should I end it now? And it's issues like that I want to bring to the table and do what I can to destigmatize epilepsy and say, nobody deserves to be in a situation like the one I explained.
And so what are some of the most common stigmas associated with epilepsy?
Because a lot of people really don't understand the complexity of epilepsy, or how many people have it, or what seizures really are like, they automatically assume in employment, for example, that you're a liability. You may get hurt on the job and sue them. You may, a client might see you have a seizure and frighten them and they don't want to do business with them afterwards. It's really comes down to the unknown. And I found the frustration I have with today's society. I understand 20, 30 years ago, employers being afraid to hire somebody because the resources really weren't available to understand. But now that we have Google, we have social media, there's so many ways to learn about conditions. And not just that, but the technology we have available now has opened up so many opportunities for employers to be able to diversify their staff, that I just shake my head at the, not everyone, but I find the smaller businesses, the unwillingness to learn. And that really is going to have not just a negative impact on people with epilepsy and other conditions, but it has an impact on our communities, our businesses, our economy, our society. And I think if we could just get out of our comfort zones for a moment and give each other a chance and learn, I think that the opportunities could be endless. I really do.
Well, I love the sound of opportunities, a chance to dance and be able to experience the world just like everyone else and contribute in beautiful ways. And I know for the paralysis community and other disability communities, there's oftentimes misconceptions. Like, could you share some of the biggest misconceptions about people with epilepsy?
A lot of people who have epilepsy, 70% are able to control their seizures, such as I have, and are able to have jobs and drive and be productive in life. And many people, when they hear epilepsy, they automatically assume disability. There's, it is said there are some people who do have epilepsy who do fall under the guidelines of disability. Many of them have rare forms of epilepsy that are due to genetic mutations in the brain. And they truly do need the help from organizations. Their families truly do need help with the frustrations of the American healthcare system trying to get a proper care plan in place. And this assumption that, oh, because you have seizures, you can't be working, you can't be in school. How are you going to learn material? How are you going to be able to contribute anyway? It's so out of date now. It really is. We have to get past the mentality of, okay, you have a condition, obviously you can't be part of society for these reasons. And I think it's especially hard when people have invisible illnesses. It's challenging, visible or invisible. But the one frustration I can say I've had having multiple chronic illnesses is I was having a discussion one day with someone, and when I was telling them about having epilepsy, they were giving me this real uncomfortable look, like, ill, I'm around somebody who's diseased. Like, she was backing away, and you could see the nonverbals, like, I don't want to be near her. And I just stopped
Wow.
talking, and I gave her a look, and I said, look, I said, if I had not told you I had epilepsy, would you even think I was sick? She went, oh, no. I said, welcome to the world of invisible illnesses. And she didn't know what to say to me.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. And wow. And then how about when it comes to kind of like the business world? What are kind of some of the biggest gaps that you've seen when it comes to prioritizing access and inclusion of people with epilepsy?
I find where the challenges are really with the smaller businesses. I'm starting to see now that DEI is coming into play. A lot of the multinational companies like MasterCard, Microsoft, and others are really starting to adapt to letting people with disabilities and differences into their workforce because, one, it looks really good on them that they're giving somebody that society has probably written off so many times a chance to show they have the capabilities and potential. But the benefits they have is these multinational companies, they have the funding. They have a strong HR system. They have the funding. They have attorneys in place to make sure the proper things are put in place. They can afford to put together a DEI team. Your average, mom and pop business or small franchise business in your local community, a lot of them don't understand how to do that, or they don't have the funds for an attorney, or even sadly where I'm living, I hear people who are, I don't like talking politics, but they're anti-DEI. I keep hearing how this is woke ideology on them. And I'm thinking there's nothing woke about people who have the capability to work despite having medical challenges. There's no reason why they can't survive in this society like everybody else. To me, it's unacceptable, the negativity I see in
So
that.
survive and thrive. They're,
Exactly.
they both should be together. But Natalie, thank you so much for being our guest today on accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions. Very much enjoyed your voice, your insights, and all that you do to help the community. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me today.
And for all of our guests, thank you for staying to the end of accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and also follow us on social media at accessiB_community. Thank you, everyone. Until next time, take care.